future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney, reporting for Weaponized News. Today, June 29th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to. Trump says we're going to have peace talks with Iran in Doha. Iran says we're not going to have peace talks. No peace talks, as there were some attacks over the weekend. We covered a little bit on Friday. We'll take a look at the latest developments in the Iran war. We'll take a look at Trump and the rest of the Republican establishment now rolling out the new Red Scare on the back of these Democrat, socialist, progressive wins there in New York. So we'll take a look at that. Bunch of rulings out of the Supreme Court today. We'll take a look at those. What else do we got? A bunch of economic news, bunch of police state news. We've got a bunch of geopolitical news, and they're leveling Lebanon. It continues. So Katz is saying it's Trump's fault. Take a look at that. And the genocide in Gaza continues. And they're using, who is it? These rights groups. Well, we'll get into a big report about a couple different rights groups now exposing the fact that, yes, indeed, they are using glyphosate and white phosphorus in Lebanon. We'll take a look at that big report and a bunch more on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. I see some people coming in right now, slowly but surely. All right, let's get to this day in history. Then we'll get to all the news for you. On this day of June 23rd, we go back to the year 1613. On this day, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London burns down during a performance of Henry VIII. On this day in 1858, we saw the Great Fire of London Docks. 1863, we saw the very first national bank open in Davenport, Iowa. 1891, on this day, we saw the U.S. National Forest Service organized. On this day in 1939, we saw Ford introduces the revolutionary Ford Ferguson 9-in tractor incorporating Harry Ferguson's 3-point hitch system. 1944, on this day, the U.S. 7th Army Corps conquers Cherbourg, France. 1946, on this day, Black Sabbath, as the British arrest 2,700 aardvarks in Palestine as alleged terrorists. How the tables have turned. On this day, 1956, U.S. Federal Interstate Highway System Act signed into law by Dwight Eisenhower, then president. On this day, 1969, we saw the first aardvark worship service at the White House. 1967, I jumped ahead, 2 years there. Aardvark land removes barricades, reunifying Jerusalem. 1970, on this day, U.S. ends 2-month military offensive in Cambodia. And of course, we know the secret war went on a lot longer than that. On this day in 2001, Steven Spielberg releases his film AI, artificial intelligence. That was all the way back in 2001, predictive programming for where we are now. On this day in 2006, Hamdan versus Rumsfeld, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that President George W. Bush's plan to try Guantanamo Bay detainees in military tribunals violates U.S. law and the Geneva Conventions. On this day in 2009, financier Bernie Madoff sentenced to 150 years in maximum security prison for conducting a massive Ponzi scheme. Isn't that funny? The entire system's a massive Ponzi scheme, but he chose to target the quote elite, or not the lower or middle classes here now. And so that's why they threw the book at old Bernie Madoff. In 2020, on this day, the Golden State Killer and former police officer Joseph DeAngelo Jr. pleads guilty to 12 murders and dozens of rape across California. And then we did have a few on this day in our civil liberties histories. On this day in our civil liberties history, we go back to 1940. Advocating an idea is illegal. Smith Act passed. Congress on this day passed the Smith Act, officially the Alien Registration Act of 1940, making it a crime to advocate the violent overthrow of the government. The law significantly criminalized advocacy and not specific actions related to the violent overthrow of the government. Is interestingly in the intense national security atmosphere of 1939 to 1940, with war in Europe and Asia, no representatives of the American Communist Party, the obvious target of the law, appeared to testify at either the Senate or House hearings. Only a few left-wing labor unions testified. The ACLU testified in opposition to the law in both the Senate and the House. The Supreme Court in Dennis versus United States decided on June 4th, 1951, upheld the constitutionality of the Smith Act in a case involving the prosecution of top leaders of the Communist Party. Civil libertarians regarded the Dennis decision as a major blow to the First Amendment because at trial, the government introduced no evidence linking the defendants with any acts directed toward the violent overthrow of the government, and instead relied entirely on ideas expressed by them. After the Dennis decision, the Justice Department embarked on prosecutions of what were called second-tier Communist Party leaders in cases in 15 separate cities. The court limited the scope of the Smith Act in Yates versus United States on June 17, 1957, one of the most famous Red Monday decisions that limited various anti-communist measures. In Yates, the court held that the actions of the defendants did not pose a clear and present danger. Yates essentially ended the government's use of the Smith Act. Okay, here's our segue to the news. Trying to convince Snow or Ruckus, both of them, to go get baptized in the blood of evil with me over there in DC, but they don't want to go along with the program. Here is baptisms being performed there at the State Fair in DC, Market 250, and notice what you see here in this clip. So you can see a packed house, bunch of people ready to be baptized in the blood of genocide right there. Snow and Ruckus don't want to partake with me, sadly enough. AIPAC drops new ad touting LGBTQ plus pride. Very conservative of them for the evangelical Christian Zionists. They should really love this.
I'm 34 years old. I'm an analyst about Israeli-Lebanese relations, and I'm part of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm Christian. I'm Lebanese, Israeli. You can say all of these things together. It wasn't easy coming out of the closet at the age of 21 because I grew up in this conservative religious family. I come from 14 generations of priests in my family. Grew up in the church all of my life, but at the end of the day, I kind of opened the Bible and like, God loves everyone. We're all God's children, and that's kind of what kept me on moving on, accepting myself.
More than ever, we need to be united for love.
The LGBTQ+ community in Israel is very much, you can say, a family. They support each other, they help each other. We have a lot of advancement in the LGBTQ+ rights here in Israel. When you're married, it's recognized by the state. When you adopt a child or have surrogacy, it's recognized by the state that you both are the parents. The movement here in Israel learned a lot from the American civil rights movement. The connection is very much important because we believe in the same values of freedom, of being able to be who you are, and also to support communities that are not very well able to support themselves. America today is the leader of the free world, all across the world. And Israel today, I see it as the leader of the free world or the free people in the Middle East. Because at the end of the day, we need to be that example for other nations and other people to go and follow in our footsteps.
There you go. Support AIPAC. Here's Norm Coleman, the new vice chair of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth's Defense Policy Board, registered foreign agent for Saudi Arabia. Says the aardvarks are masters of the universe.
A majority of Gen Z have an unfavorable impression of Israel. And my friends, I think the reason for that is that we're losing the digital war. Okay, they're getting their information from TikTok and X, whatever it is, and we're losing that war. And when you think about it, the masters of the universe are Jews. You know, we've got Altman and ASI, we've got Zuckerberg, we've got Sergey Brin, we've got the group across the board. Jan Combs, you know, founded WhatsApp. It's us. And we have to figure out a way to win the digital battle. Amelia, we got to get our digital sneakers on.
Keep telling you, bro, stop posting your war crimes all over the internet, and that could help your efforts there. So what happened this weekend? They messed up by putting TMZ tabloid there, an office in D.C., right? Because now they're on it, man. They're on it. So over the weekend, Great American State Fair, not looking so good. Not looking so good. Here's some images from TMZ DC, and it's not looking so popular there now. All-time classic right there. Yeah, not so popular. Not so popular. Trump's so toxic, he's ruining America 250. It's quite tragic, actually. He's taken America's 250th anniversary of our independence and turned it into a MAGA shit show. Here's the makeshift stage arch there. Some video of it. As you can see, the arch, it's like paper mache. Looks like the moon lander. Trump says communism is the greatest threat to our country since World War I, World War II. Didn't we fight with the communists in World War II? I believe we did. But never mind that fact. Pearl Harbor or 9/11, really? Really? They're trying to roll out the Red Scare. Never mind the dual citizens in our own government already in high positions of power. Never mind any of that. We're out of a corporate fascist tyrannical state. I don't know. Call it communist, call it fascist, call it whatever. It's tyranny. Trump's leading the charge with technocracy. Does it make a difference which sticker you put on tyranny? I don't think it really makes a hell of a lot of difference at this point.
Iran has requested a meeting this week, so Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be flying to Doha for high-level meetings this week as we continue to discuss the memorandum of understanding. On the sidelines of those high-level talks will be the technical talks. So as far as we're concerned, we're holding up our end of the ceasefire. Iran.
Jared Kushner is a special envoy. I see people posting he doesn't work for the government. He does have that title of a special envoy. So he's not in a position affirmed by the Senate, but he does work for the government as a special presidential envoy handling sensitive diplomatic negotiations. How can he have that job unless his job is to start war? Because he's completely and utterly failed at his job, unless it's his job to start the war, which we've seen happen here now. 5 days, 250 years, the biggest celebration in American history is almost here. 5 days, the White House tells us. 5 days. Largest fireworks show, epic flyovers, one legendary birthday. Don't miss it. Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha. And they laughing at us? Doha? Iran denies technical talks with the United States scheduled this week, contradicting President Trump, who said the two sides would meet Tuesday in Doha. And so U.S. Central Command waited on Friday until the markets closed to announce we had attacked Iran. There is giant market manipulation and war profiteering going into these tit-for-tat strikes now on Iran, just waiting for the whole thing to pick up real hot and real heavy. Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran said no working group meetings are planned this week and dismissed reports that technical talks are already underway in Doha. But J.D. Vance promised us that CENTCOM and the IRGC are going to go hang out together in Doha. What happened? Deputy Foreign Minister out of Iran went on to say consultations with Qatar are continuing, particularly over whether Washington is implementing its commitments, and that a first round of talks will only be held once conditions are met and both sides agree on a date and venue. Trump had said Iran has requested a meeting in Doha, while the White House press secretary added that envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner would attend. We showed you all that. The conflicting accounts come after a weekend of U.S.-Iranian strikes and reports that both sides had agreed to pause military activity while negotiations continue. Oh, man. Iranian President Pezeshkian announced that $6 billion in frozen Iranian assets will be released through Qatar, calling it a great victory for the Iranian people. According to Iranian state television, he also noted U.S. sanctions on Iran's oil and petrochemical sectors were lifted last week. Sounds like winning for me. Trigger warning here. No funds for Aardvark land. A bill to cut off U.S. taxpayer-funded military aid to Aardvark land is likely to come to a vote on the House floor this week. The amendment, led by Thomas Massey, is forcing an uncomfortable debate inside the House Democratic caucus. It would bar any funds in the State Department funding bill, H.R. 8595, from going to Aardvark land, and under the amendment text, cut $3.3 billion from the Foreign Military Financing Program, the military aid provided under the U.S. Aardvark land Memorandum of Understanding signed during the Obama administration. Bloomberg government reports the Rules Committee has cleared the amendment for a floor vote likely this week, forcing every House member to go on the record. So that shall be interesting and outrageous at the same time. So CENTCOM has announced there's 50,000 plus American service members operating in the Middle East right now in the Persian Gulf. Statement comes as Iran-U.S. MOU hangs by a thread, and Aardvark land calls for large-scale operations against Iran and against Lebanon, I may add, as well. We'll get to more of that reporting later in the show here. A little bit, they're floating the idea, what the hell? It's America 250. You need some more tyranny. They're floating the idea of Operation Warp Speed 2.0. And so we do look forward to that. This is reported by Katie Toledo, former White House health policy advisor. It says in her bio, she says, as a health policy loudmouth and former Trump White House advisor, I was invited to the attempted resurrection of Operation Warp Speed 2.0 last week. Instead of doing a deal with the devil, I sent my regrets and decided to publish the pitch word for word. The full unedited draft can be found at the link below. But before you go there, here's a summary of what it says. Research will be fast-tracked to minimize time for FDA approval. Drug companies get a seat on the committee that regulates them. Medicare must cover these drugs in 30 days, regardless of incomplete safety profile. FDA must justify economic losses for drugs they don't approve. So much for safe and effective. And maybe most shocking of all, Bobby Kennedy Jr., who literally wrote a book trashing the first Warp Speed, would be running the whole thing. And so I'll post the link to the full reporting on Operation Warp Speed 2.0 in the early planning phases. Now, It's very exciting. 35 publishers sue OpenAI Microsoft for training ChatGPT with their content. I know, shocking. They just run around, steal everything, and then they say you're bad for copyright when you actually make fair use transformative media. It's also wonderful, isn't it? Newspaper publishers across the country are suing OpenAI and Microsoft for allegedly scraping their websites to train their flagship artificial intelligence models. It's too late. They already got the data. You know what I mean? So maybe you'll win in court, but they already got the value by stealing all your data. 35 newspaper publishing companies, largely independent and locally owned, have signed on as co-plaintiffs. They represent nearly 400 news outlets across 33 states, including 3 California papers, the Tahoe Daily Tribune, Sierra Sun in Truckee, and Needles Desert Star in Needles, California. The publisher's journalism was essential to defendants' explosive growth, and unless defendants are held accountable for stealing, stripping, and misusing the publisher's content, the AI boom defendants orchestrated and benefit from will be a death knell for local journalism, which remains the most trusted news sources in America. The lawsuit. Excerpts from the lawsuit read, and I'll post that full story again on Weaponized News Substack for those interested. And so they're building out the technocracy, scientific dictatorship, trying to fulfill the prophecy of Terminator movies, taking Skynet live and building bunkers for themselves, leaving us hung out to dry, waiting till China, Russia, or maybe somebody else, maybe Hezbollah, will nuke us in 2 weeks. They'll be in their bunkers safe, and we'll be hung out to dry. Here's the ballroom, and now admitted by the White House, as was always the case, are a great national security facility and ballroom. Oh, so it actually was a national security facility the entire time, with bunker tunnel system underneath. And yeah, so there you have it. Isn't it wonderful? The government can say nice and cozy. Well, we're out here getting freaking bombed, or whatever the hell they got to unleash upon us. It ain't gonna be nothing nice, but hey, they're gonna all be safe. And so they're normalizing the police state here, America 250, this AI-powered robot dog from the U.S. Army. And so isn't it cute, wonderful? Yeah, it's fully weaponized, and wait till they make it fully weaponized and autonomous with machine guns. It's already been done. Of course, that's not this version.
So what you see right here is actually a robot dog, and we have our sensor payload here at the top. T5RSR has been working with night vision technology for years and years, getting a chance to advance it more. So we're pairing with AI. So this robot dog in front of us, we paired it with an AI model that actually needs to detect mines, people, vehicles, and this is where we're working. So this is our next step of getting soldiers out of the field, out of the minefield specifically, so we can protect them even better. And this same technology is not just for robot dogs, we're working on these for tanks, we're working on these for helicopters, all the above.
They want to go fully autonomous. They claim in Ukraine they've killed that fully autonomous AI drones have killed Russians. Here's Department of Homeland Security meme of the day. Isn't that inviting? One big, beautiful bill, modernized border security. So are they building that wall and militarizing the southern border to keep them out or to keep us in? It seems a combination of both here now. Department of War tells us, Sean Purnell tells us, for 13 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. All we needed was a new president and a Secretary of War who put America first. But why do no one in the government, no one in the nonprofits and NGOs that allowed all of this human trafficking and illegal immigration to happen in the first place, none of them are held accountable? But we do have a militarized southern border now for our own safety, of course. Here's a short video about the militarized southern border from the Department of War.
In January 2025, we inherited the worst, most dangerous, most wide open and insecure border in history. And we have quickly turned it into the strongest, most secure border in the history of our country. For the past 13 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States. We're removing murderers, gang members, drug dealers, and dangerous criminals by the thousands. They came in through a ridiculous open border.
And no one allowed that open border in the first place, or again, the NGOs and nonprofits that completed the smuggling process. No one's held accountable. No one's held accountable, but we're getting those bad illegals. They're setting up checkpoints here now, internal checkpoints inside the United States. So how about if you're setting up these checkpoints for illegal aliens, you arrest the damn criminals in the government that allowed it to happen in the first place? Oh, that can never happen because it's the same damn government. But you do get a police state.
Good, how are y'all?
We're just checking for license.
Oh, mine is somewhere in this car.
Okay.
It's in my purse thing. Sorry, I just got snow business.
Let me take off my seatbelt.
Where's my?
For you.
Oh.
Can you roll up the window, please?
Yeah.
Why you got dark teeth? Roll it back.
Why do I have dark teeth?
That's how you bought it.
I bought it. This was a sheriff's store. Cause I got in a wreck, so it's different colors.
You got insurance?
Yeah, I do.
Alright, get the tent taken off, alright? It's too
Okay.
dark.
Thanks. Call Dad. It's us. See, get it. But y'all stop. I don't know. And they know it's me. They're doing a group.
So exciting to have internal checkpoints, internal immigration checkpoints. Very exciting here in America. The Supreme Court is building its own massive police force. So we learned, I forget even the name of it, the Capitol Police have their own intel agency, right? Their own private army. And so now the Supreme Court has its own private army as well here. I guess it's a public army. What the hell are all the rest of the cops doing? The Supreme Court is building its own massive police force. It's reported out of Politico. Rapid expansion of the Supreme Court police force. The Supreme Court's own police force, historically under 200 officers focused on building security, is mushrooming. Officials aim to more than double its size, with recent budget requests seeking dozens of officers for justice's personal security details, building protection and administrative support. This includes specialized units like dignitary protection, canine, SWAT, protective intelligence units, and even nuclear, biological, and chemical teams. What do we get? A freaking plastic American flag made in China. They get all this. They get all this. A bunch more details on that. I'll post it at Weaponized News Substack. Futurism article here says AI zillionaires are starting to get scared as the public turns against them. Data centers have become a proxy for the hatred toward AI and the concentration of and accumulation of wealth it's creating. It's a giant fraud. We'll get to that in the economic section. But we do love fraud in this country. We'll get to that. In the United States, a YouGov poll found that 3/4 of Americans think AI should be more heavily regulated, and anxiety shared across the political aisle. God forbid we have a nonpartisan issue that we could unite over. You know what I mean? God forbid. But both sides apparently here now see the threat of these AI data surveillance technocracy centers. God forbid we come together as Americans and say, cut the shit. We don't want your tyranny. I don't know. Maybe, look at what the country's founded on. I know it's extreme. We'll have Mitch McConnell voting when he's dead, a la Dianne Feinstein. I think they did have her vote when she was dead, honestly. It's being reported now, tragically enough, Turtle Man, traitor to the country, Republican stalwart, Mitch McConnell, senator out of Kentucky, he's on his deathbed. Let's watch this report. I think he should vote from his deathbed. Even when he's dead, they should just say, yeah, whatever tyranny you want, Mitch McConnell's for it.
Desiree Townsend here in Washington, D.C., outside of George Washington University Hospital, where Senator Mitch McConnell is reportedly being hospitalized. Now, this will mark the 15th day of his stay here at the hospital. Now, this comes on the heels after spending 8 days in the intensive care unit at the same hospital back in February, according to sources at the hospital. So each day that Senator Mitch McConnell remains hospitalized at the tender age of 84 increases the probability that he will not return to the Senate. So the implications of this are critically important for Americans, as the Republicans have a very slim majority in the Senate of only 53.
So they should just weaken the Bernieism, right? Oh, dude's dead. It don't matter. Don't matter. Still vote with the GOP. Isn't this elder abuse? Like, seriously. Like, the dude needs to retire. I mean, he's had like 3, 4, 5 strokes in the public. He glitches out. You know what I mean? Like, he's in no shape. He's not fit for duty, straight up. But yet, they'll raise a corpse hand to vote for tyranny in this country. Supreme Court lets $5 million sex abuse verdict stand against President Trump. I don't know why they had to do it with this goofball broad E. Jean Carroll instead of probably some other even more legitimate claims against him. President Trump had asked the Supreme Court justices to intervene after a jury found that he had sexually abused and defamed the writer E. Jean Carroll. This chick, and I don't know, she went on TV and just was goofy. And the whole thing, she made herself look real bad. But yeah, you still got to pay it. The Supreme Court earlier today decided a request by President Trump to review a $5 million civil judgment against him after a jury found in 2023 that he sexually abused and defamed the writer E. Jean Carroll. So you got to pay up, Trump, according to the Supreme Court. Jeffrey Epstein used sham science foundation to continue abusing women when he was in jail. This is OK Magazine. They say Epstein allegedly turned a bogus nonprofit into the ultimate get out of jail free card. He used a fake science foundation office to continue meeting with powerful associates and abusing young women while serving his 2008 jail sentence. fake foundation, real freedom. According to the Telegraph, Epstein secured work release privileges by claiming he needed to operate the Florida Science Foundation, a nonprofit he said had existed for 15 years to fund scientific research. Literally, all you got to do is scream science and you can do any crime. I mean, that's what I get out of all of this, is you just say science and they're like, go democide all those people. It's in the name of science. Go rape them, drink their blood, the whole routine. It's for science. Continuing here, but records reviewed by the UK Telegraph allegedly show the organization was created just months before he entered jail. Instead of functioning as a legitimate workplace, the nearly 4,000 square foot office reportedly featured plush couches, a large kitchen, high-end electronics, and a luxury decor. Newly released photos also show what appeared to be an upscale executive suite where Epstein spent up to 12 hours a day while serving what critics had already condemned as a lenient prison sentence. Multiple women have alleged the office became a place where Epstein continued sexually abusing them while technically incarcerated. Hitler in Epstein files. Times Now Digital reports emails with Rothschild banker reveal claim Nazi leader lived in Jewish-funded shelters. Epstein files include a previously undisclosed email exchange between disgraced, they always have to preface it that way, Epstein, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, and Adrian de Rothschild, the chief executive of Edmund de Rothschild Group, in which the pair discussed historical claims that Adolf Hitler once lived in a homeless shelter financed by prominent aardvark banking families, including the Rothschilds and the Epsteins. The correspondence dated December 31st, 2018, was among documents part of the Epstein files there. It's drawn attention because it reveals a rare private exchange involving Epstein and a member of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Here's that email. It's a little bit blurry. I know it's true, but regularly used to say the Rothschilds planned and supported Hitler in mass destruction to gain more power. I'm in Maldives also with a cold since yesterday. I've been driving a lot, 3 to 4 days. Back in Europe, the third. First, it turns out to be 100% true. Hitler was selling his clothes and artwork and living in a shelter funded by aardvarks, Epstein, Rothschild, and Gutman. No conspiracy. The Epsteins were the Vienna bankers, bought their bank on the ring, hence still Epstein, where are you? I'm in bed with a cold. Anyway, that's the correspondence in the email between Epstein and Rothschild. And numerous times in the emails, as we've shown here, he bragged about being a Rothschild agent. Here's a clip from Astromancy archives on Epstein's strange relationship with music and how something as simple as making him a playlist could be part of a larger dynamic.
Files revealing a man who wasn't a pillar of culture, but a master in manipulation. Epstein using multiple tactics to persuade others into getting what he wanted. One component of this being a Spotify playlist. As Epstein had multiple accounts of grooming throughout the 2000s, he developed a deep curiosity with staying up to date with the music of the youth, requesting one young woman to build a playlist with just what you would like. To the normal eye, these would be simple requests. but to Epstein, they were a method of exchange. If Epstein failed to receive these playlists in a prompt manner, he would become irritated, scolding the person on the other end. Writing to a young woman in February of 2012, "I scheduled my day around you. You've not been nice with me. No playlist. After 1 month, you tell me you do nothing all day but chill in the apartment I give you. And then you tell me sorry, I have no time to make playlist." In October 2011, another redacted sender, who had Epstein saved as Uncle F, relayed that he'd be more willing to help her secure a guest speaker at an upcoming event for her school if Uncle F had the playlist he was promised. After delivering the songs, an assortment of EDM remixes for popular tracks, they were placed into a playlist on Epstein's actual Spotify account with the name Selena. Even weirder, Selena happens to be the name of billionaire couple Glenn and Eva Dubin's daughter, Selena's mother Eva being one of Epstein's early girlfriends in the 80s, often referred to as the love of his life. Selena would have been 16 years old at the time of the conversation, her music suggestions aligning with something a 16-year-old girl would listen to at the time. Just 1 month later, Epstein would be shopping for her in Paris, looking for a specific type of outfit by her request.
Just everything, manipulation, control. There are two separate documents in the Epstein files that indicate Jared Kushner is Mossad. Read everything below. When you out his actions from the first term to deals he is making as a non-elected acting in capacity for the U.S. president, it makes sense. So phone calls between Dershowitz and Epstein. After these calls, Mossad would then call Dershowitz to debrief. So they're all up in, and I'll post all these links again on Weaponized News Substack for documentation and further research purposes for those that feel like digging in there. Yeah, they're all up in it. They're all up in it as the Justice Department continues the Epstein file cover up. So it's being widely reported, or not really widely, I guess, from my crazy news sources, that CERN is shut down. It's being announced to be shut down. It's coinciding with a strawberry full moon tonight. And so feels like some type of ritual going on here now. Full strawberry moon shall be coming tonight. Take a look. Okay, some of the Supreme Court decisions that came out today. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court rules that geofence warrants, which allow law enforcement to collect sweeping smartphone location data over a broad area, constitute an unreasonable search and violate the Fourth Amendment. Trump applauds the Supreme Court ruling for creating the greatest increase in presidential power in the last 100 years. And so that's this. In the primary decision, the court held that statutory, quote, for cause removal protections for Federal Trade Commissioner, FTC commissioners violate the Constitution's separation of powers. Trump had fired Democrat FTC Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, originally nominated by him in his first term, but re-nominated by Biden without cause, citing policy misalignment with his administration's priorities rather than inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance. Lower courts had reinstated her based on long-standing FTC Act protections. The core reasoning behind its ruling: the president has executive power under Article 2 and must take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And so they're allowing for the essentially firing of federal regulators. This applies broadly to heads of 24 multi-member independent agencies, potentially allowing presidents to replace members over policy disagreements and shifting power from Congress toward the executive. But guess who you can't fire is the Federal Reserve, because as Alan Greenspan told us, they're above the government. Federal Reserve carve out separate 5-4 and related ruling in comparison or related decision. The court blocked Trump's attempt to immediately remove Fed Governor Lisa D. Cook, the first Black woman on the board. It affirmed the Fed's historical independence in monetary policy, drawing from traditions of the first and second banks of the United States, and required due process for any removal attempts. The majority, including some cross-ideological support, emphasized the Fed's, quote, unique role and warned of economic risk from undermining its autonomy. Trump can still pursue removal with proper process. This significant win for Trump agenda of reducing bureaucratic resistance to his agenda. It could accelerate policy shifts in regulation, antitrust, consumer protections by enabling faster replacement of those in the federal bureaucracy, those in the government. Critics see risks as politicization, corruption, or lap dogs replacing those already in the government. So, yeah, I don't know what every administration now, fire everybody, bring in all of your lackeys, I guess, is what it's looking like here's going to amount to. So we'll see how all of this is abused, all for the good of the people, I'm sure. Let's see what else. Well, Trump said this: big win moments ago at the Supreme Court in the Slaughter case, confirming presidential power in our country to remove executive branch officers and agency appointees or representatives under Article 2. This decision was long sought by United States presidents dating all the way back to the 1930s. It is such an honor to be the sitting president who won this historic and unprecedented ruling, one of the most important ever given with respect to presidential powers. There's that post by Trump. More Supreme Court rulings from earlier today. Supreme Court ruled that the states may count mail-in ballots received after Election Day if they were postmarked by Election Day, rejecting a Republican-backed challenge supported by Trump. The decision keeps current voting rules in place in over half the states ahead of the 2026 midterms. Supreme Court blocks Trump from firing Federal Reserve Governor. Talked about that already. Onto the economic section of the show. Claude's Claude's Anthropic to be used in California state and local governmental agencies. Is it better than Palantir? Is there any difference? We shall see. Turning the screws of technocracy. Meta has introduced Brain to Query V2, an AI system that translates brain activity into text using non-invasive brain recordings. At least they're not calling for a brain chip quite yet there. Germany's public broadcaster ARD has aired a climate awareness campaign urging reduced air conditioning use during their severe European heat wave. It's being reported. Well, the World Health Organization, they are always 100% accurate. They save us from bats, rats, you name it. Who saves us, right? They've linked over 1,300 deaths now in the EU to the recent heat wave. And of course, they're shaming America's CO2 output. I blame it on the data centers, surveillance centers. Ford has rehired human engineers after AI fails to match quality checks. And so what do we do with Ford? Report out of the BBC. Ford says has hired back some human engineers after AI failed to match their skills and experience. In a bid to reap the benefits of tech, which developers claim can cut costs and boost productivity, Ford adopted it across some parts and operations, including for quality checks. But according to Bloomberg, its executives said the firm has rehired more than 300 veteran quality inspectors in recent years to make up for the pitfalls of its automated systems. Artificial intelligence is a fantastic tool, but it's only as good as the information you use to train it. VP of Vehicle Hardware Engineering there at Ford said. And so just steal your data to train it like OpenAI. You know what I mean? Micron is about to be more profitable than any U.S. company except NVIDIA and Google. And of course, they're a microchip semiconductor manufacturer. McKinsey Scott has given away $26 billion almost entirely to progressive groups that seek to dismantle the very way of life that built her fortune. Katie Miller, propagandist for the government, reports. They leave out the part, they're giving, she gave a bunch of money to eugenics, depopulation. That's what all of these groups are about at the end of the day, and they spin off into whatever culture war issue, pick your flavor, but at the end of it all, it's for Malthusian depopulation. They leave all that part out, and eugenics, transhumanism, they leave that part out, of course. And so, bombed Iran on Friday. Here's a meme from DD Geopolitics. It's about it right here. Friday markets closed, bomb Iran. Sunday before markets open, announced peace talks are back on. And it's literally market manipulation on the world stage by Trump. War profiteering. War profiteering. It's a steady Strait of Hormuz, like, essentially closed again today. Let's see. We're at the hour mark. How much more? Yeah, we got some more economic reports. Let me take the live commercial break right now. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there, a white background sticker and a clear sticker. weaponizednews.com/shop. We got stickers, t-shirts, baseball caps, shot glasses, as this show has been known to induce heavy bouts of drinking. weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a sticker over there. We take donations as well. Bitcoin wallet address, buy me a coffee, Cash App, links all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time. Weaponized News Substack. Links in the description below this video. We appreciate all the patrons to the store, the paid subscribers, and the donors. Any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that's free. Check out weaponizednews.com/shop. Check out Friday's show. That was a pretty good one. Pretty good show on Friday. All right. And that's at Weaponized News Substack as well. All right. Thank you for your attention to that matter, and welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Monday, June 29th, 2026 edition. Back into more economic reporting. Kevin Hassett, always with a shit-eating grin on the cable news, financial channels, lying how great the economy is. He says that traffic's really moving there in the Strait of Hormuz, 100 ships per day. Maybe over the weekend it's died way down. The traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has died way down. We'll get to that reporting. Team Trump is exposing billions in fraud, even as Democrats keep actively encouraging it. Team Trump is exposing billions in fraud. And again, that what they're talking about is literally, and the irony of it all, captain of fraud in America, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, standing behind him. We're tackling fraud. We're exposing fraud, like one of the biggest fraudsters in America right there, besides Trump. So there you go. They don't miss a trick. America first or family first? Trump's $1.6 billion deal set to profit his sons. A U.S. Kazakhstan agreement to develop a massive tungsten mine is facing scrutiny after businesses connected to Trump and Lutnick families positioned themselves to profit from the deal. Trump is literally the most corrupt administration in history. And Democrats, MAGAs, they turn a blind eye. They don't want to see it or hear it. It's the truth. I'm sorry to report to you here now. I wish it wasn't this way. It is this way. A major agreement between the United States and Kazakhstan to develop one of the world's largest untapped tungsten deposits. They'll probably take that tungsten and steal your real gold bars at Fort Knox and replace it with a tungsten painted gold. Wouldn't surprise me if that's one of Trump Lutnick schemes as well. Tungsten deposits has now landed in hot water after revelations that were made about businesses linked to the families of President Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick stand to benefit from the project. The agreement gives Washington access to one of the undeveloped tungsten deposits, which is used in missile warheads, fighter aircraft, semiconductors, and defense technologies. Before the deal was finalized, the Trump administration was prepared to back the project with up to $1.6 billion in federal financing. Within weeks of those negotiations, companies linked to Don Jr. and Eric Trump and family of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick acquired financial interest in entities connected to the Kazakhstan mining project. And there's another big report breaking it all down out of the failing New York Times. It's being widely reported. I'll link to it at Weaponized News Substack. And of course, Howard Lutnick, Cantor Fitzgerald set to profit handsomely off this deal. Trump bought between 1 million and 5 million in Axon stock on February 10th. Axon makes things like tasers and body cameras. 2 weeks later, ICE posted a notice seeking a 5-year, $220 million taser contract, enough to more than quadruple its current inventory. The notice seeking a contract doesn't name Axon, but experts say the specifications only match Axon products. He's just a genius investor. He doesn't sit at his desk all day on Robinhood, as JD Vance suggested. No, he doesn't. They have a team that are pumping out fraud, schemes, scams to run. They're like, what's next? Well, body cameras and tasers. Invest $1 million, Trump. Oh, just magically 2 weeks later, they're awarded a giant federal government contract for the company Axon that makes said tasers. It's just genius investors and happenstance, I suppose. No, they're rigging everything and profiteering off of our backs. Trump bought as much as 5 million in this report from CNBC. I was lowballing it at 1 million. Trump bought as much as 5 million in Axon stock before ICE sought $22 million taser deal there. He's just a genius investor. No, they're rigging federal contracts and profiteering handsomely off of it here now. 9 poly market accounts linked to millions in profits from bets on U.S. military ops. It's real ugly, man. Here's a report by 60 Minutes about it. We spotted 9 poly market accounts, all connected, who made collectively $2.4 million betting almost exclusively on U.S. military operations. Wow, imagine that. And remember, they busted, who was it? Some military dude. They busted him. But if you're in the establishment part of the racket, then you're allowed to go ahead and profiteer. Let's watch this report from 60 Minutes on this war profiteering. It's all just coincidence, I'm sure. The bets. They're so effing corrupt, man. This government's so effing evil. Unusual Whales reports the Strategic Petroleum Reserve here in America is at its lowest level since 1983. What's the price for a gallon of gasoline on average, according to AAA across America? Here now, we're still at $3.86. It is down from last week and under $4, but still $3.86 on average. May crank up a hot, heavy war here now with Iran and, hell, maybe even Lebanon now. So over the weekend, it's being reported Strait of Hormuz traffic was about 40 ships on Saturday and Sunday. Today, it's being reported Strait of Hormuz traffic is about 13. And remember, about 20% of world trade estimated travels through there before the Iran war. So, yeah. But Kevin Hassett goes on the financial cable channels with a shit-eating grin, says everything's wonderful. We're in the golden age. It's flat out lies. It's flat out lies. Strait of Hormuz is essentially closed here now, again, with 13 vessel transits today recorded. Not good. Not good at all. And what else is not good? When you're getting slammed by freaking skull and bones, horseface John Kerry. John Kerry slams Trump's Iran deal. And we reported before, we were saying Bibi, shadow president of America, tried to sell him in the Obama administration the same thing. We're going to be nuked in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, we got to attack Iran. They didn't, in the Obama administration, take the bait as John Kerry was Secretary of State there, I believe, during the Obama administration. So, yeah, he's just talking more about it. Yeah, they didn't buy what Bibi was selling, but Trump bought it hook, line, and sinker now, didn't he? As we continue to report, U.S. left behind tons of toxic waste at former military base in Greenland, hundreds of thousands of liters of diesel, millions of liters of low-level radioactive water, heavy metals, and more. Danish newspaper Politikens investigation reported. Yeah, they pass on they socialize negative externalities, to put it in economic speak for you there. On to the future. The future is American quantum. And it's a big part of technocracy here now. If we're to believe any of this, the Trump administration is moving at quantum speed. Trump signed an executive order to develop a scientifically relevant quantum computer and advanced quantum networks and sensors. The Energy Department announced Quantum Genius to deliver on the quantum computer by 2028. Who are these guys? Defense Innovation Unit launched Far-Seer to transition quantum sensing tech to the joint force to the military. NSF expanded the National Quantum Virtual Laboratory for researchers to design experimental quantum tech. Here's that post by the White House. Turning the screws on technocracy. Here's a nice meme of the day from the Department of War. 250, America 250. Here's Illuminati Q meme out of the White House, locked in. Patriots in control. Seriously, the White House posted this. Seriously? Yeah, they did. It's just so tired and so lame and so stupid at this point. Trump's a con man, criminal, liar, fleecing the American people, war profiteering, serving the state of Aardvark land. Nigeria announces estimated 3.3 million ton lithium reserve discovery, plus rare earths, gold, nickel, copper, and platinum. And after they made that announcement, there's posts all over the internet saying they're in need of some freedom and democracy now. Well, the damn Muslims are killing Christians in Nigeria. It's time to invade, I think, right? Sure it is. And so we'll see the vultures circling here now. We may just invade them militarily and steal it all. Try to probably con them first with some type of IMF World Bank action. If that doesn't work, we'll just go shoot everybody and steal all their stuff, as per usual, as per American hegemony. Report out of the Clash report here now. Mexican Batman surfaces in Lagos de Moreno. There in Mexico, a mysterious figure or group has been duct taping suspected motorcycle thieves to lampposts in Lagos de Moreno, Jalisco, Mexico since mid-June. At least 5 young men have been found bound in public, mouths sealed with duct tape, rata scrawled across their foreheads. The stolen bikes left beside them as evidence. Here's the Mexican Batman. There you go. Well, we'll just say, for the sake of argument, it's Q because the Patriots are in control. More on the devastation there. They're still digging people out. It is quite horrific and tragic. We need to send out some prayers for Venezuela as they're still suffering. I think they had another earthquake, 5.1 magnitude today, I believe. So ongoing earthquakes. But take a look at this. Some terrorists flew a plane into this building. Oh, no. Never mind. It collapsed due to an earthquake there in Venezuela. Let's watch this clip. See that? So friggin' terrorists did that. No, it was actually an earthquake. Did they use weather weapons, earthquake weapons? I don't know. Some people are speculating that the earth is alive and there is real seismic activity. But do they have earthquake weapons? Yeah. Did they use them here? I don't know. Quite tragic. Venezuela quake kills an estimated 1,719, over 5,000 injured. And that's numbers from earlier today. I believe it's probably even worse than that. They're still digging people out of the rubble there. Here's some of the images. And no, this is not a bombing campaign by Aardvark land in Lebanon. This is Venezuela. Very similar scenes of destruction there. And of course, the human traffickers are seizing. I probably won't even show this one, but there is video, endless rows of bodies. So as they're digging bodies out from the rubble, they're stacking them up there in Venezuela and pouring lime on them. This guy, they found the guy after 5 days. Let's watch this short clip. Man miraculously rescued after 5 days in the rubble. It took intense 106 hours of joint work to extract 21-year-old Aaron Vargas alive from a collapsed building after the Venezuelan earthquake. Talk about being blessed and lucky to be alive. Pretty amazing there. They dug dude out, still alive, after being buried in the rubble. Now on to their disaster trafficking here now, as we've seen in Haiti, other disasters. As soon as some big earthquake, natural disaster hits, everybody's all out of whack, disconnected, right? Searching for family. Couple reports here now. They changed my daughter's last name, and now she's gone. They're stealing the children. And where else was it? Maui. Remember Maui? That crazy deal. They said the kids should go to school, and then they declared an emergency and shut down the school. And they had unaccompanied children all over the place, many missing. It seems like they're running the same type of routine there. Now, in Venezuela, let's hear this report.
On the left, we also have one of the people who's quite affected. I would like you to first give me your first and last name, please.
I am Noraima Perez, a waitress at the Camurive Clinic, and I am here affected because my 4 children are missing. My daughter Aranza Lopez was taken out alive, but they took her out with a last name that is not hers. Aranza Vergara appears in Social Security. I have looked for her in all the hospitals in Caracas, and she does not appear where they transferred her either. We need international help, and for this to be heard internationally, the children of Vargas are being stolen. The children of Vargas are being stripped of their last names and given other last names to take them away. Why can't I find my daughter in the Perez Carreño Hospital? I went to look for her and I can't find her. All the witnesses here from OP27 tell us
Are they snatching kids? What's this report?
I was watching videos coming out of Venezuela, and what's going on there is worse than what we can imagine. Now, I don't have all the answers. All I can do is use my platform and my following to raise awareness on this issue, because apparently a lot of the people looking for family members, the police and military aren't allowing them to get to the areas that they need to get to. But the real disturbing thing that's going on is that apparently they are taking traumatized and orphaned children to use for child trafficking, which breaks my heart, obviously, because, well, I mean, how evil can you get? I mean, to use something as horrific as what's happened to then go to the next step and then start taking the children is just a stain on humanity. It's not even humans doing it. These people are evil. They're not even like us, right? But this is what we're dealing with. And on top of that, the police are robbing what's left of of anything people own out of the rubble. They're just taking stuff. And it's just horrific. Like I say, I don't have all the answers. You know, those people are...
Oh, you know what could help Venezuela? Oh, steal all their oil and gold before this earthquake. Oh, Merck already did that and kidnapped their president. So we're helping. Oh, don't U.S. Southcoms, they're helping. So nothing for Venezuelans to worry about, I'm sure. Here's another report about it. Human trafficking organizations thrive in humanitarian crises like the one happening in Venezuela right now.
For thousands of Venezuela's children, the earthquake is not over. The most dangerous part is just beginning. According to UNICEF, 3.9 million children live in the areas the earthquake hit. In the chaos, thousands have already been separated from their families, and these separated kids are at risk of being taken and exploited unless they are found and reunited with family members fast. I've already been getting videos in the dead of night about this because there is a known trafficking ring in Venezuela. We have lived this before as a society during the 1999 Vargas tragedy, and we cannot let history repeat itself. And here is the part no one is saying. Aquí lo que no se está diciendo ni reportando. Venezuela's child protection law, La LOPNA, was built for individual child protection cases, not for a disaster affecting thousands of children at once. What is urgently needed, lo que se necesita, is an emergency child protection protocol that streamlines procedures and brings every responsible institution into a single 24/7 coordination center. Un centro de coordinación 24/7 para estos niños específicamente, and allows children to be identified, protected, and safely reunited with their families within hours or at most days. But the regime that should implement these emergency measures has already proven it cannot meet this moment. So the pressure has to come from the outside. La presión tiene que venir de afuera para salvar a estos niños. Please share this video and tag the organizations that can help. UNICEF, Save the Children, the International Rescue Committee, the United Nations, por favor compartan y taguean a las organizaciones abajo. Also the United States leaders that can act. Secretary Marco Rubio, María Elvira Salazar, Mario Díaz Balart, Carlos Jiménez, Bernie Moreno, Rick Scott, please help these children now. Make them see this. Every hour matters. We need to prevent a second tragedy in Venezuela. Let's not leave these children behind.
U.S. Southcom's there. The military's there. Insanity unfolding in Venezuela right now as we speak. So we're waiting for a big counteroffensive here now by Russia. There's been a little bit of a counteroffensive. Zelensky says since the start of full-scale war, the Russian army has already set 15 different deadlines for capturing Donetsk region. Right? That's Russia's political leadership remains obsessed with the Donbass. 15 times they have indulged this illusion that they would fully seize the Donbass. And he goes through the different battles there. And that's a big part of the Nazification of that region, right? As what Russia keeps saying with the, now I can't remember their stupid name, but the spin-off Nazi Ukraine groups there, the Azov Battalion, amongst other neo-Nazi groups there, was a major sticking point, and they continue to attack the people there. I digress back there. And we're still waiting for what it looks like Russia's going to hit them real hard for these attacks on Russian infrastructure deep inside Russia. They attacked their a big petroleum factory that we covered last week. And Russia hit them back a little bit, but it feels like there's going to be a heavy response here now by Russia for those attacks. Taking a bunch. There was I don't have all the details, but I know it took off. And I saw reports Putin bemoaning the fact that they are now suffering gas shortages there in Ukraine because this is part of a global energy scarcity program. Famine program. All these wars at first glance don't look interconnected. They're all interconnected at a geopolitical global level here now to bring about engineered famine, engineered control, artificial scarcity, blowing up a whole lot of petroleum manufacturing capacity all around the world. And again, they just hit Russia big last week. So we're waiting for Russia's big response there. Putin had said they're suffering, Russians are suffering gasoline shortages here now. Is it even real? Who knows? Engineered by the government? Who knows? The attack looked pretty real. That did major damage to a major Russian petrochemical plant. So we await Russia response to that major Ukrainian attack, and we haven't. Can we ever get a peace deal there? Stop the Russia-Ukraine war. It's quite horrific. Continuing here, Oman and France signed historic energy and defense pacts in Paris. Turkey and Saudi Arabia signed trade pact for joint economic alliance. Pakistan says it killed 29 militants in a ground operation followed by airstrikes along the Afghanistan border, according to Associated Press. So, yeah. Pakistan and Afghanistan are, I guess we don't even say, they're in a ceasefire. That's why they killed 29 people, right? Sure. So they're in a war there. Iraq issues September deadline. Are they going to have some kind of civil war uprising revolt in Iraq? Iraq issues September deadline for armed factions to surrender weapons as coalition withdrawal looms. The Iraqi government has established September 21st as the final deadline for armed factions to surrender their weapons to state authorities. What happens every time they turn their weapons into the government? Democide? Just saying. So they're trying to round up the weapons from all these militia groups, essentially. They're in Iraq. The directive represents a major push by Baghdad to consolidate domestic security and fully assert a state monopoly on arms across Iraq. Yeah. We'll see how that sorts out. As we move towards September now, statement issued by Syrian Foreign Ministry. They as in America keeps trying to get Syria to be a proxy, and old al-Shar is like, nah, I don't think so. You know, we're not going to go along with that. Tried to have them be a proxy to attack Lebanon. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs out of Syria strongly condemns the Aardvarkland attacks, which consisted of incursions into Syrian territory in the governance of Qantara and Dura, as well as the shelling of the area with artillery rounds, resulting in the terrorization of civilians. These actions constitute a flagrant violation of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and a renowned breach of international law, the Charter of the United Nations, and the 1974 Disengagement Agreement. None of that matters because aardvarks, they're allowed to, and again, they're being allowed to run around and be the bloodthirsty, genocidal maniacs that they are by Big Brother, Western intelligence, the Anglo-American establishment, because they're going to be hung out to dry here, used as the scapegoats. So you got to just violate every law there freaking ever is and ever was written against Syria. Who cares? They're the great aardvarks. Don't be an anti-septic of the septics that aren't even septic. And we don't have time to go down that whole rabbit hole, but it's just absurd at this point. Armenia rejects weaponization of 1915 events following Aardvarkland recognition. So Aardvarkland recognized the Armenian genocide, trying to bring back old wounds as per usual. Armenia head Pashin, Nikola Pashin, stated that Yerevan will not respond to Aardvarkland cabinet's recognition of 1915 events as genocide to avoid the political weaponization of the issue. They are weaponizing these issues. They knew exactly what they're doing. They could give a damn if the people in Armenia are genocided. They love it, especially Christians here now. They're trying to weaponize the issue correctly, I do believe, diagnosed there by Armenia. Continuing here, Katz. Aardvarkland War Minister Aardvark Katz said Trump prevented Hezbollah's defeat. So see, I always knew Trump was working with Hezbollah behind the scenes, right? Sure we did. Trump prevented Hezbollah's defeat, Aardvarkland occupation forces to remain in Lebanon indefinitely. In a briefing with reporters, Katz claimed that pressure from U.S. President Trump prevented the defeat of Hezbollah, implying that Shadow President of America, Bibi, yielded to the pressure during a private conversation that Katz himself did not attend. Katz said Aardvark land occupation forces will remain in Lebanon for the long term and will not withdraw beyond the pilot zones. He added that he had reached an understanding with the commander of U.S. Central Command to maintain Aardvark land occupation forces in the so-called security zones in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. And it's, as we reported, violations of all this different laws, UN resolutions, and on it goes. It doesn't matter. They're Aardvarks because they're, again, allowed to go about their genocidal ways for a big setup coming here now. He also revealed that Operation Silver Plow resulted in the destruction of nearly 100 of the Shia frontline villages and the displacement of 1.3 million residents from southern Lebanon and Beirut's southern suburb. Katz concluded by saying, Aardvark land occupation forces remain on high alert and are prepared to launch an independent operation against Iran, which he said could begin at any moment. Well, that's exciting, isn't it? Flight tracking data indicates Aardvark land reconnaissance drones are operating over multiple areas across Lebanon and up into Beirut. They're deep in Lebanon here now. Continuing. Yeah, they're bombing hell out of southern Lebanon. A demolition project continues. There's no ceasefire. Here's some images. There's a bunch. There's a couple you can see in the distance. Yeah. They're leveling the joint as per usual, creating an apocalyptic wasteland per Gaza. According to Lebanon's national news agency, residential properties in southern towns of Hadatha and Tibet were demolished after being blown up by Aardvark land air forces. There you go. You can see in the distance there. Yeah, just level the whole place. And that's what they're doing. Here's a report from on the ground there now from Courtney Banu. According to Lebanon's health ministry, at least 4,257 Lebanese civilians have been killed and 12,196 wounded since March 2nd of this year. That's her report from the ground there in Lebanon earlier today.
I'm reporting to you from the entrance of the town of Majd al-Zoun, which was last night hit by a massive Israeli airstrike. Israeli forces are actually still occupying the town, and we had to get permission from the Mechanism Committee to come up to this point. I'd like to give you a rundown of yesterday's Israeli ceasefire violations. Multiple airstrikes targeting residential buildings in Nabatea and Mifdun, a drone strike in Frun, illegal home demolitions in Taiba and Hadatha, and sound grenades dropped by Israeli drones injured citizens in Burj Khalifa and Bereshit. The latest Lebanese Ministry of Health figures stand at 4,246 civilians killed and more than 12,000 injured in Israeli attacks since March 2nd. Hundreds of those killed were children. Keep in mind that while politicians are flying around the world, attending summits, signing deals, nothing has changed. And as a reporter on the ground for the last 2 years, I can confirm to you that no piece of paper that has been signed has altered the reality on the ground. Israel is still committing acts of genocide here in Lebanon, and a full-scale genocide in Gaza. They are doing it freely, and they are doing it with the financial support of the United States government. That is your tax money. This new Lebanon deal is nothing but an agreement that allows Israel to illegally occupy southern Lebanon, even granting freedom of action in the so-called security zone. Families won't be allowed back to their homes, and the IDF has free reign to keep killing. I urge you to read all the details.
That's an awesome deal the puppet Lebanese government made, right? That's an awesome ceasefire deal. You can go about doing exactly what you were doing. What a deal. What a deal. China slams Aardvark ceasefire violations in Gaza and condemns the killing of children. Beijing's representative in the UN Security Council stated that the ceasefire in Gaza has not yet come into effect and children are being killed there on a daily basis, as per big UN report we covered last week. It called on Aardvark to immediately cease fire in Gaza and comply with international law. We're in a new era, a new world order. They don't give a damn about international law. Neither does America. They also asserted that settlement activities in the West Bank must be halted, and there can be no solution without the establishment of a Palestinian state. I think we have Smotrich saying that will never happen again today for the millionth time. Aardvark prepares new Gaza offensive amid claims Hamas rearming. I don't know where they're getting their arms from, but hey, I guess we got to finish the genocide off there because only 70% of the Gaza Strip's occupied here now. They still are holding on to that 30% from being pushed into the sea or a grave. A new report from the Aardvark military claims that Hamas is manufacturing new weapons and recruiting new fighters to resume its fight against occupying Aardvark land troops in Gaza, according to Aardvark public broadcaster Can. And that was reported earlier today. Let's play this short clip from Al Jazeera about how much, about the 70%, 64 to 70%. They've said they control 70%, but here we can see it on a map, and it gives us a little bit better idea.
Agreement reached with Hamas in October, Israel agreed to withdraw its troops to what is known as the Yellow Line. That gave Israel control of 53% of Gaza. Everything east of this line is classified as a no-go military zone, and people living here were told to leave. West of the line, Palestinians face fewer movement restrictions, but come under constant Israeli strikes and forced displacement orders. In March, Israel released maps showing its troops were advancing, occupying 64% of the strip. That's an increase of 11%. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the military to expand its control to 70%. That means Palestinians have no access to more than 2/3 of their land. It's not clear though where this new boundary will be. And at the same time, Israel is still issuing regular forced displacement orders. The latest applied to Al Shati refugee camp, that's in Gaza City and west of the Yellow Line, and it's a residential area. UN data shows about 1.7 million Palestinians are living in 1,600 displacement sites, overcrowded tent camps, schools, or damaged.
They're taking 100% and they're bombing refugees in tents. Aardvark rebrand scheme to ethnically cleanse Gaza of Palestinians as freedom of movement plan. You're free to move. They may whack you. You'll probably get whacked. But they're like, Aardvark has rebranded its controversial plan to expel Palestinians from Gaza, dropping the euphemism voluntary migration. Yeah, they put a gun to your face and say move or die, and they still just pull the trigger, right? So voluntary migration is now being replaced with a new phrase, rebranding freedom of movement plan. Channel 13 out of Aardvark land reported that Aardvark land security officials and Mossad have been instructed to stop using the term voluntary migration, which has drawn condemnation as a thinly veiled reference to Aardvark land's effort to ethnically cleanse Gaza of its Palestinian residents. They just changed the name. It's the same ethnic cleansing program. Tragically enough. So yeah, they're moving the yellow line, and you get too close to that yellow line. They whacked a little girl here. How many? Yeah, 6. They're still genociding the Palestinians. At least 6 Palestinians have been killed by Aardvark land attacks across the Gaza Strip earlier today. That brings the total death toll of Palestinians since October 7, 2023 to 73,058. That's official. And 173,488 injured, according to Palestinian Ministry of Health. And it's way worse than that. Since the so-called ceasefire, 1,045 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza and 3,380 injured, while 786 bodies have been recovered from the rubble. 13-year-old girl was among the 4 Palestinians killed there in Aardvark land strikes across Gaza. Aline Al-Farah was killed by shrapnel from Aardvark land tank shelling in southern Gaza, according to Nasser Hospital. They shot a little baby again. Snipers shot a little baby. I guess we could show you this on the stretcher there. This one's not that brutal. There's video of it. It is quite brutal. I'm not going to show you that one. Yeah, 1-year-old. How old were they? 1.5-year-old. There's video of it. This is a different one, I think. Gunshot in the hand of a 1.5-year-old. And this other one was that was killed. That was killed. I can't even show it because it's like blowing apart. I don't even want to show it, but quite horrific. Here's some video of the bombing the refugees in tents here now in Gaza's Kianis. They're taking it all. Now they're going after the refugee camps, people living in tents. Yemen's Ansarallah launches mass mobilization, declares full readiness to end Saudi-led U.S.-backed aggression, blockade and occupation. Armed tribal gatherings and mobilization campaigns continue across Yemen following a call by Ansarallah, leader of the Houthis, with participants reaffirming their full combat readiness to end the Saudi-led U.S.-backed aggression, blockade, and occupation. The campaign amounts to a nationwide general mobilization aimed at rapidly reinforcing military front lines. So the Houthis there in Yemen are getting ready to crank up the battle here now, it appears, and they're all pissed off. And I don't have the map. I did see a good map, but they're pissed off as Aardvark lands try to establish an outpost in Somaliland across the sea from them. So they're all pissed off at that. And a bunch of other stuff. A little bit more about it. They say the movement said the campaign is part of efforts to reclaim rights and resources, expel occupiers, and end the blockade, adding that hundreds of thousands of recruits have completed its Al-Aqsa flood military training courses. The mobilization comes amid heightened regional tension surrounding the U.S. Iran Memorandum of Understanding, ongoing U.S. aardvark land aggression against Iran, Palestine, Lebanon, Yemen, and renewed clashes along several contact lines in southern Yemen. It also follows Nasrallah's warnings that it could resume military operations, including in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, as well as its vow to target any aardvark land presence in the breakaway region of Somaliland. Smoke trick, right? Smoke trick. Our favorite aardvark banker. He said in his language, he said, aardvark land plans for 1 million more ultra-Zionist settlers to occupy the West Bank. They're taking all that land too. They're taking all of that land as well. The mayor of the Palestinian town Kafr ad-Dik reported that aardvark occupation forces have demolished 15 homes in the occupied West Bank town so far to accommodate aardvark land settlement expansion. He noted that all lands in the locality are privately owned by Palestinians, having been inherited from their ancestors. Not anymore. The ultra-Zionist settlers just stole it. Aardvark land killing Palestinian children in occupied West Bank at highest rate since 1967. Aardvark forces are killing Palestinian children in the occupied West Bank at the highest rate recorded since 1967, according to a report released earlier today by Aardvark human rights organization B'Tselem. The group documented that 54 children were shot dead in the territory over the course of 2025. It revealed that nearly 1 in 4 Palestinians killed by aardvark forces in the occupied West Bank since October 2023 have been children, marking the highest proportion since 1967. There's not even, just because they don't even claim there's Hamas terrorists there. It's just, you're bad. It's our land. Our divine evil God said 3,000 years ago, and we're fake antiseptics from freaking Poland. Like, dude, that's where we're at. With all of this insanity, the aardvark government is now providing aardvark settlers in the occupied West Bank with drones. So they're arming them up here. Rights groups and local sources say the drones are being used to fly at low altitude over Palestinian shepherds and farms to scare livestock, intimidate residents, and gather intelligence. So here they are, proudly displaying their drones there. Rights groups link aardvark land use of white phosphorus and glyphosate in Lebanon to Germany's Bayer Group. Well, thankfully, they just got liability protection and international security here in America and a Supreme Court ruling. They don't cause cancer, so they're a wonderful humanitarian philanthropic organization, Bayer, IG Farman, Monsanto. Human rights organization MedEco International and German Network Coordination, Bayer, Jinrifan, CBG, let's just call them CBG. These groups working together have reported human rights groups working together have reported that the glyphosate, thankfully it's health food, or else there'd be a problem here, and white phosphorus used by aardvark land forces in Lebanon are presumably of German origin. Many said they did not see this coming after World War II, but here we are. The findings published in a joint report titled Cartographies of Destruction, Aardvark Land's War Against Lebanon, traced the supply chain of these chemical agents back to the German chemical and pharmaceutical giant Bayer, again, great humanitarian philanthropist organization they are, which acquired the U.S.-based agricultural company Monsanto in 2018. According to the investigation, the deployment of the environmental toxin glyphosate in southern Lebanon and Syria has resulted in severe ecological damage. Lebanon's Ministry of Agriculture reported that glyphosate concentrations in localized soil samples exceeded normal levels by around 20 to 30 times, an escalation that Lebanon's army chief described as environmental and health crimes. The report notes that while white phosphorus has been a recurring element in regional conflicts, the use of carcinogenic herbicides as a military tool represents an expanding tactical doctrine, which Medico International notes was previously tested by the Aardvark Land military in the Gaza Strip in 2014. The focus of the rights groups center heavily on corporate accountability and industrial complicity. CBG representative Jan Perky stated, "There is strong evidence that phosphorus used in the Middle East war comes from Bayer's glyphosate production facility in Soda Springs in the United States." Very efficient. While they're making the health food glyphosate, the byproduct, some of that byproduct of that production is the white phosphorus that they're using to spread health to the Lebanese. See, it's wonderful rainbow, a health panacea brought to us by Bayer Monsanto IG Farben. During its annual shareholders meeting in April of this year, the Bayer executive board denied directly supplying glyphosate to the Aardvark Land military or U.S. military, though observers noted the panel did not issue a corresponding denial regarding the raw materials used for white phosphorus. The corporate defense follows a decision by Washington to designate elemental phosphorus, a core component for both products, as critical to U.S. national security. See, if we don't hit them with white phosphorus now, Hezbollah is going to nuke us in 2 weeks. It's perfectly reasonable and acceptable, and destroy all of their land with the glyphosate as well, because it's Fauci health food. Activists organize New York protest as Ben Gvir prepares to attend U.S. policing summit in New York. So where's Ma'am Danny, the big commie Muslim that's going to take over America? If he's really about it, he would arrest Ben Gvir in New York. That's not going to happen. Now, is it? Is it? Aardvark Land National Security Minister Ben Gvir scheduled to travel to New York next month to address the United Nations Chiefs of Police Summit July 7th and 8th. And so where's Ma'am Danny? Get your state police and go arrest this butt. It won't happen. But there is a protest against him there. Here's the flyer for that protest in New York. All out to the UN, Ben Gvir out of New York City. So that shall be interesting to watch as those protests develop and we don't see an arrest of Ben Gvir in New York from the great progressive liberal social Democrat, call me socialist, whatever the hell they are. They're still not going to go ahead and enforce international law, are they? No, they're not. All right. Let's wrap up with a Greg Reese report here. An age of revolution returns.
The most radical political prose ever written into a founding document of a nation is found in the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. He went further and wrote that when a government pursues a long train of abuses and usurpations, it's the people's duty to throw off such government. In a 1787 letter to James Madison, Jefferson wrote, "I hold it that a little rebellion now and then is a good thing. It prevents the degeneracy of government." In another letter he wrote, "God forbid we should ever be 20 years without such a rebellion." In a letter to William Stephen Smith he wrote, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure." Thomas Jefferson was not the only radical poet of individual freedom. The words of James Madison, Samuel Adams, Patrick Henry, Benjamin Franklin, and others lit the flames for the age of revolution. Starting in 1775 with the American Revolution, which inspired the French Revolution in 1789, the Haitian Revolution in 1791, and the Latin American revolutions that began in 1810. This entire age of revolutions unfolded in just 50 years, but according to history, it cannot be described as grassroots rebellions. Freemasonry and the Illuminati were heavily involved. Freemasonry has been, and still is, closely related to the British Crown. The first American Masonic Lodge was established in Philadelphia in 1730, with Benjamin Franklin as a founding member. Benjamin Franklin was the Grand Master of the Pennsylvania Masons, as well as a member of the Lodge of the Nine Sisters in Paris, where he recruited French support for the Revolution. George Washington was a Master Mason of Fredericksburg. Paul Revere was the Grand Master of Massachusetts. John Hancock was a member of St. Andrew's Lodge, Boston. Masonic lodges were incubators for revolutionary ideas, and despite Freemasonry's origins under the British Crown, every Masonic leader of the Revolutionary era sided with the Patriots. The Bavarian Illuminati was officially founded by Adam Weishaupt on May 1st, 1776, during the American Revolution. The Grand Orient of France and various Masonic lodges served as networks through which revolutionary organizers coordinated across national borders. A conference was held at the Rothschild Castle in Wilhelmsbad on July 16, 1782, where Freemasons and the Illuminati forged an alliance before the French Revolution erupted. Yuri Lina is an Estonian journalist, filmmaker, and author who argues that international Freemasonry, international banking, and the communist movement were all interconnected strands of a single project of elite power consolidation. Lina claims that both Lenin and Trotsky were high-ranking Freemasons, loyal to the International Masonic Council. According to a 1917 document, the German Grand Lodge stated that Lenin consistently represents the ideals of international Freemasonry. Both American communists and American bankers were instrumental in financing the Bolshevik Revolution. Lina frames the American Revolution as the first successful deployment of Enlightenment Masonic political philosophy against a traditional monarchy. According to Lina, the Founding Fathers were participants in a Masonic Illuminati geopolitical project to avoid a Christian monarchy by creating a secular republic, and was the template that was later applied in France and Russia. Looking back today, Lina's argument does not seem far-fetched at all. Western governments have been fomenting revolutions for over a century, and the astrological parallels between then and now as well as the current political climate, suggest we may be seeing a new age of revolution. Several major planetary cycles are returning to where they were 250 years ago. Pluto, which destroys old power structures, moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. Uranus, which rules revolution, is returning to Gemini, which promotes sudden change and technological disruption. Saturn conjuncts Neptune at 0 degree Aries, the degree of new beginnings. And Neptune moves into Aries, a time of idealistic crusades and battles fought over freedom. On July 4, 2026, when America celebrates its 250th birthday, the sky over Philadelphia will more closely mirror the sky of July 4, 1776 than any sky since then. And the secret societies responsible for overthrowing governments are well aware of this. Greg Reese reporting.
Something to keep in mind there. Let's take a look. Iran International, how we started bombing the hell out of Iran since we've been on air. Here, let's take a look. See if they, what do they got here? Trump plays down Qatar talks as fragile Iran truce holds. U.S. eases Morocco fertilizer duties after Iran war disrupts supply. Tehran daily splashes Trump in crosshairs, vows revenge is certain. Khomeini aide says leaders' MOU remarks strengthened Iran's hand. It's not looking good. And why lie? It's just the manipulation, the lies. It's just ridiculous. Iran denies Trump's claim of Doha meeting. But they're in there squeezing every little penny out of the market manipulation from Trump's statements. It's just truly, truly disgusting. All right, heading over to the channels now. That's all the reporting I have for today. Let's check out Odysee, if we can get there. How many clicks does it take to get to Odysee? Quite a few, actually, for me on my end. Over to the Odysee channel. Shout out to the chat over there. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Monday. Shout out to Pink, Deep, Fat Bob. Let's see. APAC bought all their silence. What does Fat Bob say? Text jackass to OU812 and receive neutrons on a screen. Hippie Hitler being said. Propped up by the philanthropists, right? The Rothschilds. Oh, Force Scully. Shout out to Force Scully. Said they got the shirts and they love them. Good. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage to the store, and I'm glad you like them, and I'm glad that you were able to receive them. Great color on the taxation is theft shirt. Good to hear. Good to hear. Also, the tank top as well. Well, good to hear. I'm glad you're happy with those products. And again, thank you for patroning the store for Scully there. And Fat Bob, your order is on the way as well, I do believe. Fat Bob says, we're 250 years old, Sam. No rhyme, nor reason, just do or die. Paul Greg Roberts says, this is now just perpetual war. Sure looks like it, doesn't it? and fake peace deals for market manipulation and perpetual war. It certainly does appear that way. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in on Odysee, X, Kick, Facebook, Bitchute, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Fat Bob concurred. I concur. Okay, let's check out Rumble, YouTube chat. Quite a bit of chat going on there. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll just scroll about halfway up. Shout out to Chloe on the YouTube, on the Rumble. Shout out to A-Dub on the YouTube. Shout out to Karen Strong on the Rumble. Let's see. They're going to keep printing until it fails. Better start saving some physical. Yeah. Yeah, 2027 is going to be the worst for food famine. A-Dub said, yeah, well, that's what all this crisis is, right? Let's see here. Ake on the Rumble says they're all traitor. All politicians and parties are unconstitutional. Yeah. Karen says, sounds like Venezuela is Clinton's Haiti 2.0. Jason says, wow, sick bastards. Talking about the disaster trafficking. Never let a good crisis go to waste, and they don't, right? And they don't. Every reset starts with a world war, Jason said on the YouTube. Ake says, I keep thinking of the ant and the Aardvark cartoon. The Aardvark's voice was an Aardvark comedian at the time. That's where it came from, the ant and the Aardvark. I think you're a long-time listener. Simon, when Simon was co-hosting, when we cooked that up. Let's see. Southern Lebanon is full of Christians. Why they're a major part about why they're bombing them. 4th of July will be the darkest day in American history now. Thanks, Trump, you evil traitor. We do appreciate Trump ruining America 250 for the very large majority out there with this handful of friggin', I don't even know who like, I don't even want to get into it because it's just very angering at this point. Monica says, what can you say, God? You're in control. MH, shout out from Brazil. Shout out back to you. Let's see, Oliver, the devil is the root of all of it. I have family that's MAGA-tarded. Family, that's a good one. I have family that's MAGA-tarded, so we need to start rehab for, I saw some Facebook, I think it was satire, it might even be real, trying to rehab from MAGA, deprogram. Well, I do agree with America First in principle and theory, but that's not what we're getting, obviously, out of this Trump administration. The whole thing was a bait and switch. It's their land anyway. Sure it is. After you kill everybody. Antiseptic. Yeah. Yep. Any criticism of genocide and ethnic cleansing's antiseptic from claimed by the people that are not even septic. So we do appreciate how thick the irony, idiocy, and degeneracy are on that topic. Trust me, it's not missed here. Iran hasn't spoken the truth yet. All talk, no smoke. I think, Greg, they've actually, and I don't trust any government, but I think they've actually been a lot more honest and forthcoming than the United States since the beginning of this war with them. At least their public statements. I don't know what goes on internally in Iran. Obviously, I'm not there, but as far as outside reporting that I can garner through the wonderment of the internet, we do have access to international news. They've been a lot more honest than the United States. Sad to report. All right, friends, thank you for tuning in and keeping the chat lively and cordial for the most part, it appears. I do appreciate it. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening, and we'll be back here on Tuesday for more Weaponized News. Let's pray for peace here now as the situation in Lebanon looks to be intensifying and not to the good at all. All right, pray for peace, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for